Hi everyone! I recently picked up this cute antique console table and I wanted to share with you why I love grabbing pieces like this. They're small, easy to fit in the car, and simple to bring home without too much hassle. I actually found this piece on Facebook Marketplace for free. I couldn't believe it. And what I really love is that these smaller pieces make a quick and satisfying makeover. As a mum with a toddler, I really don't have hours and hours to spend on big projects at the moment, so something like this is perfect when I want to get creative without committing days to it. Well, let's get started and I'll show you what I did. Okay, first things first, as we all know, cleaning. And this step may not seem very exciting, but honestly, it's one of the most important parts of any furniture flip. When I first started watching other people do furniture makeovers, I used to wonder, why are they bothering to clean it if they're just going to sand it anyway? But now I honestly get it. Over time, this old furniture builds up layers of dust, dirt, oil, and who knows what else, especially if it's been sitting in someone's garage or shed for years. If you skip cleaning and go straight to sanding, all that gunk ends up clogging up your sanding pads or paper really quickly, and it makes sanding less effective and wastes your material and just creates, honestly, a sticky mess. So for this piece, I wanted to keep it super simple and I used a basic degreaser that I picked up from Aldi. Nothing fancy, just to get the job done. I sprayed it on, let it sit for a few seconds, and then wiped everything down with some soapy water. And you'd be surprised how much grime came off something that doesn't look that dirty at first glance. Next up was sanding. And I do hand sand this whole piece just because I'm in an apartment and I really don't want any noise complaints. I started with the drawer and wow, this part was really satisfying. It had a thick layer of old lacquer that I knew would need a little bit of effort to get off, but yeah, it came off really nicely. I was using a 120 grit sandpaper to start with, which is great for cutting through that heavy finish. And then I was switching between that and a 180 grit to smooth it out and get it ready for paint later. I like to alternate between the two depending on how stubborn the old surface is. Now, before I go any further, I always wear a mask when I'm sanding. And yes, it kind of makes me sound like Darth Vader, but safety first. And especially with these older pieces, you don't know what kinds of finishes or chemicals we used, and you definitely don't want to be breathing in that stuff. It might not feel like a big deal in the moment, but over time it adds up, so make sure you wear your mask, even if you feel a little bit ridiculous. To the legs, let's just say my back was getting a little sore and they had so many curves and little tight spots that I had to reach while they were still attached. So I had a look inside and I realized that it was all held together with just a few little nuts and bolts, and luckily they unscrewed really easily, so I took it apart and I'm so glad that I did. Sanding the legs separately made this process so much easier and a lot more thorough. So if you're working on something similar and it comes apart without too much effort, definitely go for it. It saved me a lot of time and it gave me a much better finish overall. Alright, time to clean again. After sanding, there's always a layer of fine dust left on all the surfaces, and you really want to make sure that you get all of that off before you're moving on. And if you leave any of it behind, it can mess with your paint or your primer sticking properly. So I gave everything a really good wipe down, every nook and cranny, just to make sure it was totally clean and ready. Once that was done, it was time to put it back together. While I had the legs off, I had noticed earlier that they're a little bit wobbly and starting to come apart at the joints. So before reassembling, I added a bit of wood glue just to make them more sturdy. It was a simple step, but it gives this old piece a new lease on life. Then I reattached the top section, just screwed everything back in, and it was finally feeling solid again. Now it's prepped, cleaned, sturdy, and ready for painting. So now for the fun part, painting. And of course, Charlie really wanted to help. For this piece, I'm not using a primer, and that's because I'm using a chalk paint. One of the great things about chalk paint is that you often don't need to prime as long as you've given the surface a good scuff sand, which I've already done. It usually sticks really well to most surfaces, so it's perfect for quick and easy flips like this. The paint I'm using is a chalk paint from Kmart. It's super budget friendly. I haven't used it before, but it's only $12 and the color was really cute. It's a beautiful light teal, and I thought it would just give this piece a fun, fresh look without being anything too crazy. I'll talk a little bit more about what this paint is like and how it goes on later, but for now, let's just start brushing it on. And while I'm painting, I just wanted to say a big thanks for being here and for watching. If you're enjoying this video or picking up some tips, feel free to subscribe or give me a thumbs up. It really helps support my channel and lets me keep sharing these little projects with you. Okay, so let's get this thing painted. So once I started painting, I quickly realized how thick this paint was. And although I had read reviews that did say it was thicker than I expected. And also it was a warmish day, so it was drying really fast and it started to clump up as I was working. So that wasn't great. But to fix that, I ended up watering it down slightly. Just enough to help it glide on a bit more smoothly without changing the color or coverage too much. I also switched to using a roller in some areas just to speed things up and to get the paint on before it dried mid-stroke or mid-brush. That really helped with getting a more even coat, especially on those flat surfaces. The finish came out okay in the end. It's not perfectly smooth, but that's pretty normal with chalk paint. Between coats, I gave the thicker areas that had clumped up a bit a light sand just to smooth them out a little before the next coat went on. Once the paint was fully dry and the finish was looking good, I decided to add a little bit of distressing around the edges. I like doing this on certain pieces because it gives them a bit of character and also lets some of the original wood peek through. I just used a fine grit sandpaper and lightly rubbed along the corners and edges, basically the spots that would naturally wear over time. It gives the piece a softer, more lived-in look without overdoing it. And then it was time to add the final touch, hardware. The good thing on this piece, it was only one pull that I needed to add. So for this one, I picked something simple and classic just to match the vintage feel of the table. It's such a small detail, but it really makes a difference in how finished and intentional this piece looks. Okay, before I show you the final result, let's take one quick look back. Remember what this piece looked like when I first picked it up? It was tired, a bit wobbly, and definitely in need of some love. And now, here's the finished piece. I'm really happy with how it turned out. What started as a free Facebook Marketplace find is now a refreshed little console table with so much more character. It's definitely giving those antique coastal granddaughter vibes. And it didn't take much, just some chalk paint, sanding, and a few finishing touches. But it really made a big difference. I will probably go back and seal it with a top coat or some wax just to give it some more durability, especially if it's going to get regular use. But because this was just a quick, budget-friendly flip, it's not essential right away. It already looks great as is. But if you enjoyed this flip, feel free to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, or leave a comment for me. I'd love to hear what you think or what you'll do with this piece. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.